It's the 21st day of Chaf Aleph today. I think Chaf Aleph, of
Today was 20.
today it's 20, right? All right, so it's the 20th. Yeah, I flew, so I'm a little bit. So it's the 20th of Tammuz, Tafshin Tet. We're learning first book of Shmuel, 10th chapter, verse 2. So just to recap what happened in verse 1. Verse 1, Shmuel is anointing Shaul to be the first king of Israel. He's doing it in secret. He's doing it in secret for several reasons, as we mentioned. One reason is to make sure that later on, when there is a public selection of the breastplates, selecting Shaul, the people are not going to say, "Oh, it's all rigged." We knew it. So you just put the oil on his head before that. So it's all over game. Rigged elections. So he was afraid of that, and also the method by which he anointed Shaul was a little less important way as he would to David later on. With David, he would do it in a shofar. With Shaul, he just used a bucket. A bucket can break, a shofar cannot, or harder to, and that indicates that the differences between the two the status rise, right? That Shaul is not going to last and David will last. So if he would do it in public, people will say, why should we listen to this guy? He's going to be gone soon. So putting all of that together, he did it in secret. Now later on, he is also going to do David in secret, and that is for a different reason, because David at the time, Saul was chasing David, was trying to get to him, possibly, remove him from being a contender. That
Did
was
any
done.
of these people who were lobbying for a king, did they have anybody in mind?
So we will see soon. There are few different groups that were lobbying for a king. The entire nation was lobbying for a king, as we saw before. But the nation is divided into three general groups, and we'll see different approaches, different reactions, different ways of handling the news. One of the another question that the commentaries are asking is, why is God electing the king? If the people wanted to select the king, let them elect someone, and why does it have to be done from above, sort of dictating to the people who the kings are going to be?
To remove suspicion.
So to remove suspicion of.
So that no one person was decided upon by any of those three classes that you said were vying for different people.
They were not vying for different people. They're having different ideas of what the kingdom should look like. They had different reasons as to.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't. I don't think they had a specific person in mind anyway. But the point is that we were made out of 12 tribes, and 12 tribes, sounds like, okay, so let's have 12 parties, similar to the Israeli system of electing someone, and you see what that leads to. In order to avoid all kinds of fights and election wars, and as we see in later on, that part of the people were selecting one king and another king, and right away there is a war to settle down the matter, which is not desirable. A second reason is because a king had to be a special person. A king has to, not someone who's there for personal gain, not someone who likes likes money, cars, horses, etc. And only God has the capability of really x-raying the person's mind and heart and knowing what's in it. And people can be fooled. And the third thing, which I found interesting, is because when you are elected by someone, you are bound to favor that party who selected you, and that will make the king beholden to the people rather than to the laws of God, and which is what he needs to follow. So therefore, God selected him, and now he's beholden to God rather than the people. Now, so that's where we were last time, basically, and we are in chapter 10, verse 2, and here starting with some sort of a, for lack of a better, more respectful word, strange bunch of psukim, that Shmuel is giving signs to Saul that everything that he told him is going to become true, or everything is right, that it's correct, that he is going to be the king. And the question is, why does he need to give these kind of signs? Shmuel is a legitimate, has 10 years of practice as being a prophet. He already told him before he opened his mouth, are you looking for donkeys? The donkeys were found. He gave him the signs. And now he anointed him already. Now what is he saying now extra that Shaul needs to learn? So there are different ways of looking at it. And we will mention a few of them, not all of them. One idea here is that he was trying to empower him and give him the strength to deal with the difficulties that are coming up his way. Being a king is not a walk in the park. You have a lot of issues to deal with, and you need a lot of strength, and you need a lot of Shaul was until now a simple person, not simple intelligently, but intellectually, but simple in a way that he was not in charge of anything except of his, father's donkeys. He was not really a leader of any kind. He was staying away, being a loner, a little bit, learning on his own, not really. So to rise up from this kind of a position, nobody type of a position, to leading the nation, he needed a lot of strength. So those signs are empowering him and leading him, grooming him to become a different man by he's actually going to become a prophet. He's going to turn into a prophet, which is something that's usually takes a process of years of preparing and learning and practicing. And here it's going to happen overnight, over less than overnight. So he needed a lot of strength, and this is something that those signs are tailored to lifting him up to that position. And he also gave him, within those signs, a lot of hints. Who is he going to deal with in terms of the three types of people that exist, that are going to be under his subjects, and mentioning many different locations, which also each and every one of them is a sign in of its own, which we'll see. So let's just dive into it and read the first pasuk, which is a long one. So Belechtecha yom imadi, when you are going away from me today, said Shmuel to Shaul, umatzata shnei anashim, and you will find two people. Where are you going to find two people? In kvurat Rachel. So he's going to find two people in the burial place of Rachel. And then he mentions Bigvul Binyamin, on the border of the tribe of Binyamin, which is already throwing us into a loop, because Rachel is not on the border of anything. She's in the middle of a plot, of a lot of land. She's not. So what does it mean, Bigvul Binyamin? And then another one, Betzel Tzach. Tzel Tzach is not a place that's mentioned anywhere else, but the rabbis are telling us that this is a section, a neighborhood of Yerushalayim, of Jerusalem. Well, the burial place of Rachel is next door, but it's not in Yerushalayim, it's in Bethlehem, right? Bethlehem. So, 3 locations, what do they mean? We'll see in a second. V'amru elecha, let us finish reading it. V'amru elecha, so those 2 people that he's going to find somewhere are going to tell him, Nimtzeu atonot asher halachta levakesh. The donkeys that you went looking for were found. V'hine nata shavicha et divrei atonot. And your father abandoned the whole idea of the whole question of the donkeys anymore. He's not interested in the donkeys anymore. He got them back. Now he's busy worrying about you. V'da'ag lachem. He's worried about you too. Because, don't forget, Shaul is still walking around with this helper kid, who is the Nar. And the father would worry about both of them. And then it says, Lemo, ma yaseh libni, and it's saying, how can I help my son? So he was worried about both, but really was worrying more about his son. How can I help my son, Shaul? Where is he? What should I do? So this is the first sign that Shmuel is telling him, you'll find those 2 people, and they'll inform you of the status of the Atonot. So what is this all about? So we need to strengthen Shaul. So one of the way of strengthening Shaul is mentioning all of these locations. Rachel, Shaul is from the tribe of Benjamin. Benjamin is the youngest son of Rachel, of Rachel, right? He's mentioning Rachel. He's mentioning his right?
Matriarch.
Right, his foremother, where he's coming from. Rachel is our mother of all of the Jews. So that's giving him a strength. It's not only your own personal mother; it's a mother of all of the Jews. So she'll be with you. Bigvul Binyamin. Binyamin is the first one who jumped to the water when we crossed the sea, when we got out of Mitzrayim. So the water were going on, and behind us the Egyptians were chasing, trying to kill us, right? We didn't have anywhere to go. So the tribe of Binyamin went in first. Now when we got to the nose, it was a little bit, they stopped, and then Nachshon ben Aminadav went further, and so he has that going for him. But as a tribe, the tribe of Benjamin went into the water first, and went a serious amount of way into the water. So that is another merit that's on the positive side for Shaul. So he should remember that. And the third thing is Tzaltzach is Yerushalayim, but it's the shadow of God. It's the shadow of someone who is pure. So the shadow of God. Also, if you recall, we mentioned the fact that Shaul's father invented the lighting system, the street lighting at night in alleyways in the streets, so people are walking safe. So he is the first one that installed it, not Thomas Edison. So
He should work for Con
so he should work with him. So shadow, Tzel Tzach. So that reminds him of the merit of his father. And finally, why 2 people? 2 people to remind him of the fact that he's the one that saved the 2 tablets. So we have all of the merits lined up here in chronological order. Rachel first, Benjamin second, his father third, and he himself fourth. So that's now. Now the Malbim is explaining that there are 3 types of people in the world, in the nation, in any nation. especially in our nation. And he said that those three people are going to be part of who is Shaul going to be ruling over, and he should just get used to the fact that not everybody is going to be all that helpful. The first group of people, and I'm going to read from the Malbim straight, those are Anashim Amoniyim Achayim Chayei Behema. Those are commoners who are living the life of an animal. That they don't worship God, they don't understand, they don't learn, they don't have education, and all of their mission in life is to take care of their own body and their own property, and most of the people are like that. Most of the people are not learned people. Most of the people are not, at least in those days, were not people that you can really have an intelligent conversation with and talk about the things that bothers a king when he runs a country. And because they're the majority, these are the first one you're going to meet. And all they're going to tell you, some pieces of information, not going to be helpful as much. And part of what they represent is they're standing in the border of Benjamin. That's why he mentioned all of these places that are really not the same place. Those people are on the border of Benjamin. What do you mean on the border of Benjamin? When you, the king from the tribe of Benjamin, going to become the ruler of the Jewish people, they're going to be standing on the side. They're going to be standing on the border. They're not going to participate. And as we will see later, this group of people, when after the public lottery happened and he became a de facto king, they were saying, we're not sure we want him. Who are you to rule over us? Those are the same people who were asking for a king. Now they're saying, why you? Obviously, because they had in mind different reasons why they wanted a king. They wanted a king to help them acquire or satisfy their needs, which are really not lined up with what the Torah is suggesting. A Jewish person should do, and they got this tzaddik who is a pious person, who is a prophet. Not exactly what they had in mind. So now those people, other than exchanging words with him, are not giving him anything. Okay? Which is, again, something for him to figure out as a king how much benefit, because he needs not for himself, but in order to rule the country, you need money. You need things. You need to buy. You need to manage an army. Those people you can't really rely on for any of those things. So that's the first group that he will meet. The second group that he will meet, V'chalafta misham. Chalafta misham is a strange way of saying, pass through it. It's because it means like, and you changed. Because the next place is going to be where he's starting to change. Because he's going to meet more worthy people, more substantial individuals, and they will give him already something that can help him in the transition between a non-profit person to a prophet. V'chalafta misham v'ala, and you'll go from there away, meaning you will leave your previous yourself behind. Uvata ad Elon Tavor, and you'll come until Elon Tavor. Okay, Tavor is a mountain. It's a mountain in the north of Israel. He did not actually get to the north of Israel. Elon is a tree, so maybe it's trees that coming from Tavor. Maybe it's a place that you can see the mountain of Tavor from. He's mentioning Tavor here to remind him that in Tavor, that's where Sisera was killed in the war against the king Yavin. So again, to mention to him the fact that there is a war coming, you're going to be battling, but don't worry, you will win. So to strengthen him So they're mentioning the mountain of Tavor. And over there, ומצאוך שם 3 אנשים. Over there he's going to meet a group of 3 people. Now these 3 people are from a better class of people. They are olim el Elokim. They are going up to God. They're going to. They were heading to Kiryat Anavim. They were heading to the place where the ark was, or to Nov, where the Mishkan was. One of the two. They were heading towards God. Betel. They went to the city of Betel. I'm sorry. So they went to the city of Betel, but they're going with the intention of becoming closer to God. In the city of Betel, there was one of the high schools for prophets. That was the whole area that prophets were created. At the time of Shmuel, we mentioned several times that this was a turning point in the prophecy, that Shmuel made it more common and inspired people to go into that line of business. So you will meet those 3 people. Now, these 3 people, the second group of people, is divided further into 3 parts. There's people that do have the idea of God. They have some spirituality in them, but they do it for 3 different reasons. One of them is carrying 3 gdaim. One of them is carrying 3 what? Kids? Goats. What? Kid goats. Yeah. Little goats, right? I thought it's a little sheep. No, goats. Gdaim. All right. So, and those goats are worthy of being a sacrifice. That's why he was carrying them. So these are people that are worshiping God for the purpose of God, because when you sacrifice something to God, it's His. Nothing is remaining with you. So they're doing it for that purpose. The other person is also worshiping God, but he's doing it for a little, to help himself. He's doing it for his own benefit. So he's carrying 3 loaves of bread. שלושת כיכרות לחם. And so he's worshiping God, but he has ulterior motive, which is, I want to have it good in life. So, which is shelo lishma, but the rabbis are telling us it's better to do that than not doing it all. So, because eventually people will graduate to the higher class of people, which is worshiping God because He said so, not because we are enjoying it, we're benefiting it from Him. Ve'echad noseh never li'ayin, and another one is carrying a flask of wine. Now, the third kinds of people that are worshiping God are not just worshiping God. Okay, I want the basics. I want to have luxury. I want business class, first class. That's why I'm worshiping God. It's not enough that I'm worshiping God. I'm going to have the ticket to go to Florida. I want to go, business class. So it's another person, another type of way of worshiping God, which obviously is inferior, but still he's doing the bottom line. They're doing the right thing. So now these type of people, they are already more people you can deal with. They are more accommodating. They are more cooperating. V'shalu lecha l'shalom, and they're asking him, "How are you doing? How are you? Shalom." They said they met a person on the way. They're acting very nicely towards that person, towards Shaul, which is in contrast to the other dudes that just told him, just.
This is all future, though.
This is all future, right? This is what will happen. And not only they're going to ask you how you're doing and basically bless you, because when you say shalom to someone, you're blessing that person. They're also going to give you, they're going to, out of the 3 loaves of bread that they have, they're going to give you the majority. They're going to give you two of the 3, which is incredible, Let's split. There were 3 people, you were 2. They gave you 2 loaves of bread. That's a lot. But the sign for him is that these are people that you'll be able to use to accumulate enough wealth to run the country with. So that's the second sign. The third sign, אחר כן, תבוא גבעת האלוקים. After that, you're going to come to another place. That is the place where the ark is. Givat Elokim, it's the hill of God. And that hill is basically in Kiryat Yearim, where the ark was. If you recall, we mentioned when they brought the ark, they put it on a prominent location in town, in the center of town, in a giv'ah, in a hill. So that's where it's going to go. And over there, who is going to meet there? Is going to Vesham Asher Sham Nitzaveh Plishim. There is not going to meet, but over there will be the representative of the representatives of the Philistines. What are the representatives of the Philistines telling us here? They're telling us several things. Number one, we're still under their control. They're not oppressing us as much, but they're still everywhere, and they have the right of way. They can be anywhere they want. It also tells us that they have lots of respect for the ark. They had a situation with the ark before, right? Where the Jews took it to war and they captured it and they got beaten up by the ark, all kinds of miracles. So they wanted to make sure that the ark doesn't go anywhere, that it doesn't help the Jews in wars, it doesn't come against them. So they had a permanent unit guarding over there and making sure that the ark is not moving. It also signifies to Shaul that he's going to come to the hill, to the mountain, or to the hill where God rests, and over there will be also Philistines, and he will be the one to remove them, because those two things don't go together, in reality. They should not be together. As you come to that city, so obviously when you come to the city of God, you have a lot of holy people around. So upagata chevel neviim yodim me'arama, and you will see a group of prophets coming down from the podium. There is a podium in every city. There was a podium to bring sacrifices, and the prophets, part of what they use to prepare themselves for prophecy is to go and bring sacrifices. So they came all inspired. They came down from the podium all inspired. And you're going to bump into them. And in order for them to create the conditions to be real good prophets, they also had additional props. Velifnehem Nevel, Vetov, Vechalil, Vekino, Ve'ema Mitnabim. There was in front of them a harp and a drum and a flute and a violin. They had a band basically. Now, what's the band about? The band is because music it brings you to spirituality. That's why people are drawn to music, because they're looking for something beyond what they have around them. And it says that the whole of music in higher worlds, in spiritual worlds, the whole of music is right next door to the whole of tshuva, to the whole of repentance. So in order to bring people up, to inspire them, you need music. That's why we sing during davening. So vehema mitnabim, and they are prophesizing. They're whatever prophets do, they're telling what will be, how it will be, what should be, etc.
By the way, the three elements of the music are harmony, melody, and rhythm, and you have those three elements there. The drum is rhythm,
right.
Harmony is the harp, and the flute is the melody.
Is the melody, right. I think Neville also, if you recall right in the previous verse, 2 verses ago, we have the guy that is carrying Nevel Yain, which is a flask of wine. Nevel is the same word for flask and for harp. So you can take the same word and do something ask for luxury, or dedicate totally and completely to God. So that's the sort of contrast here. So, and this is the third group of people that are totally godly, totally spiritual, totally willing to dedicate themselves to the work of God. So he met all of the people, all of the possible people that he is going to have to deal with, to rule. But the last group, together with everything else that went through, all of that will bring him to the next verse, which is "V'tzalcha alecha ruach Hashem," and "V'itnabeta imam v'nefachta leish acher," that the Spirit of God is going to rest upon you. Tzalcha is a very funny word, because it's used in a couple of places, especially with Shimshon, when he needed to operate, to do something for God. It's Tzalcha alav ruach Hashem, that the Spirit of God helped him. Tzalcha is also from the word matzliach, from the word success. It was a successful event. In modern Hebrew, litzloach means to cross a waterway. To cross a waterway sort of fast. When in the Yom Kippur War in Israel, when Arik Sharon took the troops across the Suez Canal, it's called tzlichat te'ala, litzloach. They just went through, and so you go through from one place through a impassable area to another place, because usually it's impossible to become a Navi overnight, but just in the morning you were a regular person, you were anointed, and then you meet one group, another group, a third group, and then you're a Navi. It's hocus pocus in a way, but it's all a ness, it's all a miracle that was promised to Shaul, and he will become another man. Now, and he will, with that, he is going to prophesy. V'itnabeta imam, you will prophesy already with this group of people. They went through a whole preparation period at the podium with the music, etc. And by you don't need that. You right away, you're going to get to their level without preparation. If you will be another man. Now, it's interesting that how is that happening? What's the mechanism for it? So in the some of the commentaries here mentioning that there is the book of Incarnation that was written by the Talmud of the Arizal, and he is mentioning that the mechanism is that we all have neshama. We all have, like any other person and any other lehavdil animal, we have some sort of a spirit in us that enabling us to function in this world, right? We also have an additional spiritual neshama, which is a godly one, which connects us to God in a special way. A Navi is being awarded an additional one, an additional neshama, an additional part or additional feature, an upgrade, and that's what's making him a prophet. Now, because it's an extra upgrade, it's a module that you just plug in, it can be taken away if you don't do the right thing. And because it's an additional piece, something can go wrong. If you do something wrong, the feature doesn't work, and that becomes ruach ra'ah. It becomes a bad spirit, which is what Shaul ended up having to deal with. That he has some, a new feature in the engine that doesn't really work as well, and caused him some problems rather than boost him up. So that's the mechanism. He would be awarded another piece of the neshama, and it will become another man.
Do you think tzalcha has something to do with tzaltzach?
I don't know.
Close, but not there.
Or it could be a salacha.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. Plate.
Plate.
Yeah.
Well,
Um,
it's in church, huh?
Yeah, similar show. It's Tzel tzach is two words. Tzel, which is shadow, tzach, which is pure. והיה כי תבואנה האותות האלה. So when those signs are going to show up, are going to occur, האלה לך, עשה לך אשר תמצא ידך כי האלוקים עמך. So he's telling him, after you see those three signs, you're basically going to be a different man, and now it's your show. Now you have a little bit of a mandate to start collecting. What do you need? You need a cabinet. You need the army. You need some stuff. You will have to take some steps to help yourself manage and rule. Now, there is here a little bit of a landmine. And the landmine we'll see in a bit, but on the one hand, he needs to follow everything that God's telling him via Shmuel and don't do anything else. On the other hand, Shmuel is telling him, I give you carte blanche, I give you mandate to do stuff on your own without me. And we will see that the first war he will do without asking Shmuel. He will actually launch a war to save the Jews from an oppressor, and he will not ask Shmuel for permission, relying on these words. Go do what you need to do. Now, with that, it's very hard for someone that got permission to do anything they need to do to then also be given very specific tasks that he needs to follow without any alterations. And this is the next thing that he failed to do, and that's why from the very beginning he's telling him, listen, this is going to be the test. And he would fail this test, and that would lead him down the wrong path, and the good spirit that he got will get a little bit of a missing oil, and it will squeak a little bit. וירדת לפני הגלעד, וירדת לפני הגלעד, and you will go לפני הגלגל, you will go to the place called Gilgal, which is the first area that the Jews visited after they crossed the Jordan with Joshua, right? It was a mountain. It is a mountain. It's a place that you can see afar. You can see most of the land from, and it has a plateau on top where it can hold a lot of people, and over there that will be a showdown essentially. And I'm going to join you. I'm not coming with you now, but I'm going to join you. I'm going to join with you to do what? To sacrifice to God. And we're going to do two things. We're going to bring olot, which is sacrifices that go holy to God. And we're also going to do zivchei shlamim, which are korbanot that are divided. Some go to God, some the owner who brings it is allowed to eat from. So we're going to do all of that process, but you'll have to wait for me. Shiv'at yamim tochel. You shouldn't have to wait for me for 7 days until I'll come to you. And then I'll tell you what you're going to do. So first is being told, do whatever you need, but go to Gilgal and wait for me for 7 days, and we will see that when he gets there, he's sort of caving in to pressure, and he's starting the official party earlier, and Shmuel comes and says, why did you do that? Why didn't you wait for me? That sort of shows that he wasn't, it was hard. Now, it wasn't perfect. Now, the rabbis are telling us that this is the first time that we had a king. And there is a saying, Kol atchalot kashot. Every beginning is hard. And he was plowing the way and sort of paving the path. And it's very hard to pave a new path in a new road. So there were some problems over there. he had some additional hardship that the other kings did not have to deal with. Anyway, so that until now, this is what Shmuel is telling him, giving him, these are the signs, this is what will happen. Vayaka afnoto shichmo lalechet mi'im Shmuel. So then he turns his back to Shmuel to walk over and on his journey back home, basically, because his father is worries about him, and to encounter all the three signs. What he did is right away he did something wrong. He turned his back on Shmuel. You're not supposed to turn your back on your rabbi. When you go, when we used to meet the Rebbe, you don't turn your back. It's a Shulchan Aruch, it's halakha. You have to walk back, with the faith, that's why we walk back in Shmoneh Esrei. We meet in God, you go back. This is the man of God. You don't turn your back on him. He did it. That's part of the problem. So, but as soon as he turns away to go away from Shmuel, right away God awards him this extra spirituality, the extra spirit. Vayafoch lo Elohim lev acher. So God turned his heart to a different one. Vayavo kol haotot ha'ele bayom ha'u, and everything that Shmuel told him, he met the two people who just told him that about the donkeys were found. He met the three people who each one was carrying something else, and they gave him 2 loaves of bread and told him, how are you doing? And he knew he can rely on them. The more spiritual people, and finally the group of Nevi'im that he saw coming down from the podium, and he was able to join them and become a prophet on his own. All of that happened on that day. Vayavo shama givata. So then the two, Shaul and the kid and the helper, they arrived at the Giv'ah where the ark was stationed in Kiryat Anavim. So he's mentioning a little bit more in depth the third encounter with the third group of people, because we will see later it's going to become a little funny. So he bumped into those guys. Vatitzlach alav ruach Hashem. So the Spirit of God was upon him in a successful way. Vayitnabeh betocham, and he became a prophet. So now, you walk in the street, and then, Charlie, you start prophesizing, That's odd, You're not expecting that from you. That's what happened here. Vayhi kol yodomit. Well, all of those, now he was in home territory. He was around his house. So people knew him. Vayhi kol yodomit mitmol shilshom vayiru v'neim im nevi'im niba. Anybody who knew him from way back when, see that suddenly Shaul, he's a prophet. So that raised several eyebrows. What's going on? So people started talking to each other and said, this Ben Kish, they didn't even mention his name Shaul, they mentioned his father's name, because his father was an important guy. They didn't know that Shaul has any importance to him. So Hagam Shaul ben Shaul is also a prophet, and this will become, we'll see later, it becomes a term. Hagam Shaul ben Are you also, somebody? Who are you? Go take a hike. Who are you to? So now, what was their question? The question is that how do you become a Navi? How do you become a prophet? To become a prophet can be one of two ways. Either it's in your DNA, you were born one, like Isaac was born to Abraham. Jacob was born, so they all became prophets because it's in their DNA. That's the way they are. That's why in more modern ways the Hasidic chains are usually going from father to son, because it's in that DNA. It's a holy DNA. It's something special. Now, Kish, that's why they're mentioning Kish here, because Kish was not a prophet, so he doesn't have it in his DNA. And also, it requires a lot of preparation. And we didn't see Shaul preparing in any way, shape, or form. So how come suddenly Shaul is becoming a prophet? Vayan ish misham. So one guy told him, and he doesn't say who this guy was, but it's a person who was obviously smart and knew, understood that that's not the way you're judging a prophet. Like, who's your father, Vayomer umi aviem. I mean, all of these groups, the group of people that was with him, that met with him, there were also prophets that trained to be prophets. It's not people that they came from a family of prophets. So, you know what? You're not questioning them. Why are you questioning him? And in terms of preparations, I guess that can be done faster. And therefore, it's because it was such a stark change, such a strange occurrence, it's such an unbelievable event. It became a saying. Agam Shaul Benevim. Whenever you see something that's unbelievable, someone who changed from all the way from Miakatzeh lakatzeh, how do you say it in English? From extreme to extreme. You see someone who says, Agam Shaul Ben, he's also, and you see many times, suddenly a kid goes to Israel, goes to yeshiva, and then comes back a changed man. This is a saying that, he was in Israel. Agam Shaul Benevim, all right. Vaychal midnabot vayavo abama. So then he started prophesizing, and instead of the podium giving him the preparation, he was adding to the podium. He was going to the podium already a prophet. And then there was another encounter, and because he was around home, Vayomer dot Shaul elav. So his uncle is asking. His uncle saw that he is different. That suddenly Shaul is now. The uncle was living. They were living together, and he knew him from birth. And he saw that something. What's going on here? How did that happen? So, and he saw him with the he and the guy and the kid that helped him. He says, Ana lachtem, where were you? Like, what happened to you? What fell on you? Who did you meet that it was trying to investigate. Says, he was a humble man. He didn't want to tell him, boast what happened to him. So he says, we just came from looking for the donkeys. We couldn't find it. So we went to Shmuel. And Vayomer dot Shaul. So okay. So now Shaul is the uncle of Shaul is understanding that something happened with Shmuel over there, because he knew who Shmuel was. So he said, Vayomer dot Shaul. Hagidon Ali ma malachem Shmuel. He asked him, what did Shmuel tell you? So Shaul, being as humble as he was, Vayomer Shaul el dodo, he told him, Haged igid lanu ki nimtzu atonot. He told us that the donkeys were found. Ve'edvar hamelucha lo igid lo asher amar Shmuel. But he didn't tell him that he is going to become a king. So he was very humble. He told him the truth, but not all the truth. Just told him what he felt he needed to know. And I think Mincha is right now. Yeah? All right. So we'll continue next time.